Tohu Harris retires. He's officially retired immediately from the NRL. He played exactly 117 games each for both Storm and Warriors. He won the comp in 2017 with Storm. 2020, he was the second row of the year. In 2014, he was part of the Four Nations teams that beat Australia in the finals. And I tell you what, a guy like Tohu Harris, I still don't think to this day that people actually appreciate how good this guy's career was. Because we're talking about a guy at the Storm who was so highly touted. At times, they would like throw him in at 6. And coming through the Storm system, he was an integral. I remember at the time when they did actually leave the Storm, they were devastated to lose a guy like Tohu Harris. And when the Storm are devastated in losing a player, like, you know that he has big raps about him. What an incredible career. And that year that the Warriors had, obviously not last season, but the season before, that was truly, I mean, yes, of course, Shaun Johnson was incredible. But really, it was on the back of Tohu Harris. It was on the back of Tohu Harris, and Shaun Johnson, absolutely taking nothing away from SJ. But when it comes to like the unsung hero of that season, it was Tohu Harris. Absolutely.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think for me, the image that will stay with me forever is that return to Mount Smart when he walked them out. Like that was just incredible. It's one of those moments I wish I was there for, just to experience what that stadium was like. I said it the other day, like he's one of the very few that leaves the Melbourne Storm and gets better. And I think I'm even guilty of it myself when you talk about the best lock forwards in the game over the last few years. Man, I leave him out all the time.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it
don't put him
too.
high enough, at least. And I think when he's out for the Warriors, it makes you realise just how important he is. He's a little bit like Yo. When he's not there, you sort of realise. Just having a look throughout his career, as you said, like played 5'8" a few times and whatnot. If you ever look for the Kiwis, like he never played in the 13 jersey for the Kiwis. He played 5'8" more than he did lock for the Kiwis. He played centre more than lock he did for the Kiwis. Like incredible.
Think about, if we had a player playing for Australia that did these things, that went from, back row to 6, to centre, to sometimes he would, I'm sure there were periods in the game, even in 2023 when he was playing front row, like from centre to front row, it's incredible.
That's crazy, yeah. And I mean, like, obviously he's now retired. And to be honest with you, if he would have retired any of the last 3 off seasons, I would have gone, I'm not shocked. The bloke is walking wounded 24/7. And yeah, like I've even heard stories. I think it was Magic Round 2 years ago where the Warriors, I think they played on the Sunday Arvo. I think they played the Panthers maybe. And he was so battered and bruised and sore after the game that he couldn't move to have a shower. So they put him straight on the bus. He sat on the plane from Brisbane to New Zealand, still in his kit.
No
was just
way.
That battered and bruised. Yeah.
What? And he's just rocking up, probably play the next week.
He's just a different breed of bloke. Like he's just, he fits that, Kevin Campions, Simon Mannerings, these sort of guys they've had. And it's obviously James Fisher-Harris is arriving, which is fantastic, but a lot of leadership gone there.
You'd have to think that they keep him a part of the coaching staff. Like
surely.
He'd be such a vacuum there. And funnily enough, not that his positional career is similar to Simon Mannering's, just his appreciation. Like Simon Mannering at an Australian club, if he had the same career, would be remembered by everyone as one of the better players of his generation. But because it's over in New Zealand, it's a little bit out of sight, out of mind, and we've all got to be better at it, is appreciating the Kiwi players. But Tohu Harris, Timmy.
Yeah, and you talk about, like you mentioned, out of sight, out of mind over in New Zealand, Kempy, and unfortunately it is a bit like that, as we know in rugby league circles, when you get out of the Sydney bubble and the Brisbane sort of bubble there. But he defines to me, Tohu Harris, that sort of the development and the era of the ball-playing lock that came about. And I hope it doesn't happen, but I feel like in the future, people, when they think of, I shouldn't say smaller bodied, but certainly rather than just another hard-running forward in the middle as your number 13, basically another front rower, we've had this evolution of the ball-playing lock. And people will probably think of, in 10, 15 years' time, Victor Radley, Isaiah Yeo, but Tohu Harris was at the forefront of this, and he's not a smaller body like, Connor Watts and all these sort of guys who do it, or Radley. He's a big boy. And you mentioned his versatility to play across positions as well, but he did this and was... When that sort of first started coming in, the ball-playing lock role, he was the best at it the entire time. But it just sort of, for some reason, he was never in that conversation, as you said, of the elite locks and the ball-playing locks in the game. So it's changed the dynamic of the forward pack because it's created a smaller body and the link man in the middle and all that. And it was Tohu Harris, and you mentioned, like last year was the big year of it with the Warriors went on their brilliant run, or the year before, I should say. An incredible career. You mentioned he was a goal kicker as well for a bit. Jumped in for Cam Smith when he was injured.
It's insane.
He did it all. So incredible career, and he'll be missed.
You know what he is the epitome of for me? is he is that guy, and every team's kind of got this guy, where you'd watch a game and you'd be like, oh, Tohu Harris is pretty solid. Then you'd look at his stats and you'd go, what the hell? This guy was unbelievable. Like, for some reason, because you're so used to seeing them get through all that work, you're just like, oh, yeah, Tohu Harris just had his fucking 20th hit up for the game. Okay, normal, whatever. And then you look down and it would say, like, 20 hit ups, 210 metres, 45 tackles, 1 miss. And you'd just be like, where did all that work come from?
And when you add in, like, coming back to the ball playing, like, there are lots of locks who pass a lot. But what Tohu did was, it was his pass selection was incredible every time.
Yeah.
It was his ability to put it out in front of Sean Johnson when he was hitting him out to the right. Like, anyone can pass a footy, but can you do it well and choose your time? Tohu did it exceptionally.
Yeah, and like the Warriors, that 2023 season, the player before Sean Johnson in a lot of those tries where they would literally almost walk over the line. Like, they had so much space, they would just like walk over the line. It was Tohu Harris that was giving the ball to Sean Johnson in a lot of those scenarios. Like, you got to be a bloody good ball. And like, we're talking about his ball playing. We're not even talking about the fact that his ball running was bloody one of his strongest weapons, and also his defence. And he did it pretty much hanging by a thread for the last couple of years of his career.
It's crazy when you look back at his debut. Like, he made his debut in the World Club Challenge of 2013. Yeah. He scored a try in that game on debut in a World Club Challenge.
Actually, I think Rando's stats guy had a good stat. I think he's the first ever debutant to score in the World Club Challenge.
Yeah, there was only 3 try scorers in that game. Him, Billy Slater, shocked me, and Jesse Bromwich. Both of them only scored 30 tries in their career and both retired this off-season.
Wow. Yeah. Far out. Hammy?
Yeah, I mean, what a player. And, you touched on the year before last when the Warriors went on that big run. He was such a huge part of it. And then last year, he misses the vast majority of the season, and surprise, surprise, they drop off. It just goes to show how kind of crucial he was to that side.
That's a good point.
And, now that he's gone, certainly on the field, hopefully, as you said, they keep him around off the field. But it's going to be a big gap to fill. Fisher Harris obviously coming across, but yeah, hell of a player. I remember the first time I kind of became aware of Tohu Harris was, or really had a bit of a appreciation for where he was at, was 2013. He was picked in the New Zealand World Cup squad. Then Sonny Bill made himself available and they had to drop someone. They dropped Tohu Harris. And then, you fast forward now to the end of his career and pretty comparable with Sonny Bill's rugby league career, really. Star of the game, won a comp. Hell of a player. So he'll be a big loss.
I tell you what, just quietly, I saw Sonny Bill at the fights on the weekend. He is looking fit, big, and scary. He is clearly, because obviously when you train in rugby league, there's a lot of contact. So obviously your muscle mass, isn't big. He's looking the fittest I've ever seen him in a big way. Big boy.
Out of retirement, you reckon another fight on the cards?
Mate, I tell you what, I wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't mind it. I mean, Sonny Bill Williams, his career in making the right choices at the right time. I feel like that's obviously you've got the incredible athlete part of it. But just his ability to make the right choices at the right time. I know I'm not talking about early in his career with the whole dog situation, but I'm talking about, when he got to All Blacks and then obviously came back and everything. But anyway, back onto Tohu Harris. The way, I guess with Tohu Harris, what do you remember him more as a Warrior or as a Storm player?
Warrior.
Warrior?
Yeah.
I'm mixed. Yeah. I'm really hard.
I'm genuinely 50-50. Right now, it's Warrior because recency bias and he's just been there. But I think in a couple of years' time, when we're sort of reflecting on his career and had time to sort of take it all in, such a big part of the Melbourne Storm through their success as well. So I'm 50-50.
Because with the Melbourne Storm, so they won the comp 2017. The last time before that was 2012.
Yep.
So that's a drought for them.
Yeah.
And so he's a big part of that. He's a big part of that 2017 comp that they won. Oh, man. I mean, what's funny is he literally played 117 games for Storm, 117 games for Warriors. Yeah, I'm torn. I'm torn between the Storm and
Could you imagine that period the Warriors had, which was brutal for everyone, but for the Warriors during COVID when they were away from home for months at a time. Imagine if they didn't have a leader like him. I'd love to hear or see the situation if he wasn't in that group.
Yeah.
It would be massive during that period.
He's the kind of guy that, maybe he's underappreciated to the wider audience in Australia because obviously the Warriors don't get the headlines in Australia, but I guarantee every player that's played with him is he's one of the best I've ever played with. One of the best I've ever played with. And that's also why Tohu Harris, he's our bloke that has grabbed life by the balls, brought to you by Bloke Undies. Use code Harris, HARRIS. and you get 10% off your Bloke undies. And they are premium undies, guys. These are high quality, the best material we could find, the best design we could do. That's Bloke undies. But a massive congratulations to Tohu Harris. And a guy like that, with the impact he's had in regards to his teammates, but also the impact you talk about, the ball playing lock, that's not by chance. That's because he would understand the game probably better than most people. I'm sure he'll land in probably a coaching role somewhere, and at the very least, a forwards coach somewhere. At the very least, I just think that his footy knowledge would be way too high for him not to land in that. Obviously, if he wants to, that is. But massive congratulations to Tohu Harris. What an incredible career, and it's been an absolute privilege to watch him play.